There he is. There he is. Oh, let's check our email while we're doing a live feed, shall we? Oh, good, good. Right. Morning, Snorlord. Daniel Adami, Dan Smith, Jonathan Wheeler, Ryan Garner, what's up? I have a few things I wanted to talk about this morning. As far as things I've been seeing on Facebook, if you guys follow me on the public page on Facebook, it's kind of related to that. Nittany Lion, Adam Gallagher, CPAP, Jonathan Wheeler. I think I already said all you guys. So we'll get some more people in here and then we'll talk about it. It's a little test for you truck drivers and for your non-truck drivers. So, Big Road Little Truck, what's up? Snorlord. Big Rich, how's it going, my friend? Music Trucker, aka Bandit, is in the house. I appreciate that. We got a good cup of coffee. I'm a cool dad, right? No, I'm working. I got a load picks up later today, CPAP. I wouldn't be doing a live feed if I didn't have a load lined up. Good morning, Good morning, Brent. You let non-drivers in here? Of course. Of course, they're witty. Nick Brashear's Morgan Brothers. What's that? It goes, waiting to get loaded. Cool. So, no, as a matter of fact, the load I booked Friday or Thursday, I think. No, it was actually Wednesday I booked this load. There's a gal from a brokerage that emails me her list every single morning. Actually, several times a day of everything they got on her account in the nation. Yes, AC is working. I ended up cleaning out the fan and got a lot of gook out of there, and it seems to be working pretty good. So I got some very cold nature people in this house, so we don't have to keep it like at 70 degrees. That helps a little bit. Oh, let's see here. Everybody's saying good morning to each other. Pale Rider, what's up? Nick Brashears, good morning to you, sir. So, if you guys follow me on Facebook, let's go back to the work thing. So, even if I had not booked that load, I got a call from another broker this morning. They had a load ready for me if I wanted it at the rate that I wanted it. And had I not already been booked, I would have grabbed it because it's a really good paying load. So, big rich. So, all right. So let's get to the topic at hand. This little test for you guys, okay? Oh man, Steve, it's Tuesday morning. We don't want to test. So, if you have a GPS, now this isn't an argument whether you should use a GPS or not. It's nothing like that at all. Because I know some of you old schoolers like Pale Rider don't even use a GPS. That's not the. Let's not forget. Let's look at the big picture here, okay? How many of you use a GPS or you see someone on Twisted Truckers? There's another one. Hey Josh, what's up? And you see a truck that went under a 12.7 bridge. How many of you blame the GPS? And how many of you blame the driver? Who is the blame? There you go. That's your test. Driver. Yep. Did you know that there are people that are driving these trucks that do not blame the driver? Kenny Cab over. That's interesting. Okay. We'll get to that. I like your answer there. in my company days, I came across a driver that was there doing some retraining. And I asked him, I said, what happened? He goes, well, I hit a bridge. I go, oh, man. And he talked about some bridge in Dallas that, and then he proceeded to curse. Now, for those of you who work for a mega carrier, if you have Omnitracs, the Qualcomm, there are different levels. Like if you're at Landstar, you can buy certain levels of the Qualcomm service. One of the levels is having the GPS that's installed. The company I was with at that time had the Qualcomm installed GPS. Now, if you don't want to shell out $300, $400, $500 for a GPS, this was a good option. And at the time that these GPSs first came out on the Qualcomm, your options were either spend a lot of money on a Garmin or a Rand McNally, or just to not have one, which, if you've driven a truck for anything like at the time without a GPS, it's not a big deal. Okay, and this argument is not about GPS, okay? Bear with me here, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I hate GPSs. It's not about GPS, okay? This driver on the yard, I was asking him, so what happened? He told me, he goes, man, their GPS put me on that road. And he was blaming the GPS for the fact that he hit the bridge. Here's another question, okay? We're off GPSs now. If someone, here's the scenario. It's at the Joplin Flying J, right? Now, if you guys have ever been to the Joplin Flying J, the fuel islands are facing the first row there. You got the building right here, and you got the row. It's probably a bad way to look at it, okay? And a lot of people tend to park on the outside row, to the point that I think Flying J made it a handicap parking spot because they didn't want just anybody jumping in there, okay? But before, So one day I go there, and there's a truck, brand new JB Hunt truck, smashed. The truck was on its first maiden voyage. That's how new this truck was. Obliterated. And where was he parked? He was parked on the very end, not in a parking space. So technically he wasn't in a parking space. So I overheard somebody else asking what happened. He goes, well, I hit this guy, but it's his fault because he was on the end of a parking lot. He wasn't in a real parking spot. And that blew my mind. So it's that driver's fault that you did not look in your mirrors and you went around that corner and took his hood out. People park in odd places all the time. Doesn't mean it gives you permission to hit them. Do you see where I'm going with this? Now, JB Hunt might look at that driver and say, you know what, you shouldn't have been there, so there's going to be some repercussions. However, the insurance company of the truck that hit him is still going to be the one that has to pay for that. Now, Adam Gallagher, you brought up a good point. You have to know the difference between an accident that is preventable and non-preventable. It has nothing to do with fault. A lot of people don't understand that. There's a video on Facebook, YouTube. This guy in a 387 was in the left lane, and he saw that this car to his right was going to cut him off. He even says it in the video, and he speeds up, right? Of course, that car comes over and gets obliterated, right? Yes, it is the car driver's fault. Car driver should not have been in that spot, should not have made that maneuver. Okay? However, in the trucking world, that's considered a non-preventable to the truck driver. Well, why is it, Steve? It was completely the car's fault, you know, because the way trucking companies look at accidents is, could you have prevented that accident? Could you have prevented? So if the driver had got off his feelings and backed it down because he was being stubborn, he wasn't going to let the car over, even though he knew he was going to come over. He didn't have enough sense to slow the truck down and let the dude cut him off. Preventable, right? No, I didn't get in an accident. Knock on wood. No, it goes to the post I did on Facebook. So, and there are so many accidents and dash cam videos that I've seen on YouTube where they could have been prevented. You know, you gotta sit there and you look. There's so many accidents that are preventable, whether it's your fault or not. Okay. In order to be a new person in this industry, you have to know the difference. Hey, Ricardo. Battleborn, what's up? Shadow Wolf, I saw you sneak in here. You have to know the difference because, you know, as I talked about on Facebook, complacency can be an enemy, you know. So if you go through a parking lot and you nail a truck and you sit there and say, well, they shouldn't have been parked there. They shouldn't have done this. They shouldn't have done that. You're putting the blame on the wrong person. Personally, would I park on the end of that row there at the Flying J? No, because I know there's potential for people to nail the truck. Okay. Would I have personally not let that car in the same as that other driver? No. You know, four-wheelers are like children. Some are good, some are bad, but they all don't know any better. And that's how you have to look at it. And you know, and I'm not going to sit here and have a debate about automatic transmissions or whatever, but when I first got my first CDL, it was a Class B CDL. It was for driving a school bus. It really took the four-wheeler mentality out of my driving. Like right then and there, because I'm hauling precious cargo. I'm hauling children, okay? And you can't just hit a curb in a school bus because kids can get injured. You can't just like not look in your mirrors and just cream the side of a pole or another vehicle when you got children in the bus. You just can't do it. You're driving a large vehicle in very small spaces, and people don't respect buses any more than they respect trucks. And so there were people running the stop sign. There were people that just did not care about your presence. And so it was up to me to take care of that presence. It was up to me to make sure that, you know, because, you know, I had one incident in the school bus, and here's what happened. I was taking a right-hand turn, and I got up on the curb, right? And I noticed that the light pole was right there, and if I wasn't careful, I was going to hit it. So I went real slow. And the reason why I cut it too sharp was because there was a car that was turning left coming out of the road that I was on. And he was sticking out too far. Now, years later, I would recognize the fact that I should have just waited for that person to clear, you know, before trying to proceed. Now, I'm on the curb, so, okay, now I got to be gentle. So I tell the kids to sit down, which, you know, they were pretty good. I barely came off that curb real slow, and the shocks of the bus bounced, and I clipped the clearance line on the side of the bus. And just by the bounce, you know, had the bus not had bounced, or if I was empty, it probably wouldn't have bounced that far to the light pole. And so when I got in, the lead driver was like, so what happened? You know, I told him, and he's like, wait a minute, So you're blaming the car that was turning left for your mistake? And that was it was at that moment that I was like, you know what? You're right. I should have just waited. I should have just, and here's the thing, guys. If you're going through a parking lot at a truck stop and you can't get through somewhere, you can't get through somewhere. You have 5 people that are parking illegally and wrong that creates a situation that you can't get out. Doesn't mean you've got the right to just, ram through their trucks, right? So to sit there and blame them for hitting their truck is not really a great attitude or mentality. So you got to put all the blame on yourself. If there's something you can't do, you don't do it. Here's a good example. When I was a trainer, I had a friend that I was training. He became a friend, and we were backing up, in the parking lot. We were working on his backing, and he did not like the cone aspect. He wanted to back between 2 trailers. I'm like, okay, I could see that. Let's do that. So that puts a little bit more risk and a little bit more work for me, but we're on our own lot, so it's no big deal. So we did that, and he did pretty good, and I could tell he was getting bored with it. He was a good backer too. So I gave him a situation that I knew that not even our day cabs could do. There was trailers here and trailers here, and I was trying to have them back, but there wasn't enough swing room with the way the trailers were set up, especially with that 660. And he almost hit the trailer like 3 times, and I had to stop him, which was fine. That's training. And then he got out. He was frustrated. He was mad. He was like, you need to tell me how I need to get into this trailer. I'm completely clueless. I said, what's the best thing you can do right now? And he's like, quit. No, don't quit. What's the best thing you can do in this scenario? I don't know. Don't do it. If there's a maneuver that is required at a shipper or receiver that you cannot do without tearing something up, you don't do it. You don't sit there and demolish your skirts or your door and then sit there and blame the shipper. You just don't do it. And then you deal with the repercussions of that. Perfect example. I was at a shipper there in Tennessee. They told me door 22. Okay. I couldn't do it. I did not have enough swing room. And I needed the door that was a few doors down that had a double wide so I can get that in there. And so I went back, after about 10 minutes, I went back in there and said, look, dude, I can't back in that door. Can I get this door instead? And they're like, oh, man. I guess, they had an attitude about it. So, boom, I get it in, no big deal. It took me a minute. About 20 minutes later, a day cab comes along and tries to get in the same exact spot I had tried. Guess what? He hit the trailer next to him. And so I knew I wasn't just being a lame driver. I knew I wasn't just, I can't do it, there's been times where I've tried to maneuver that I was having trouble with, usually one of them 90-degree deals, where the truck's got to be completely like that, when you hit the dock. And there was one time where I couldn't do it. This is my first year out. And I was hitting the steering wheel. I was cursing. And I got out and said, man, I can't do this. And then one of our other drivers was there. He just kind of well, if you want to hook for a trailer, I'll back it up for you. And this is, an old timer, And I was like, give me one more try. So I had to take a deep breath. You got to take that deep breath, count to 10. And I got it in the first time. So sometimes it's a matter of clearing your head before you try a maneuver. But the most important aspect is if there's something you can't do, don't do it. Don't force the situation. If you can't get in that dock, make arrangements. I've had yard guys move trailers for me. I've had, I'd come out and told drivers, hey, can you give me a hand? And they're like, I don't know. So, well, I'm going to hit your truck if you can't give me a hand. Oh, okay. They usually change their tune, and let's say that guy's like, well, I don't care. It's not my truck. You can hit it all you want. Then I would go to another person and say, hey, can you help me? Generally, if you ask 10 drivers, at least one of them is going to help you out. We're not all butt heads out here. And, some of the caves in Kansas City, if you deliver there, it takes like a team of people to kind of get you in some of these spots. There was one in particular that was meant for, cab overs and day cabs. And so, and every driver had to wait on the other. So it was in every driver's best interest to help you out. And you had to watch all the different corners, both high and low, in a cave. That's the most stressful part about being in a cave. You could be fine by your wheels, but you're not going to be fine up there. Your corner of the trailer is going to hit there. So you're watching basically 8 corners. The two in the truck in the front, the 2 in the back, and then you're watching the nose of the trailer too. So is it the cave's fault if you ram into something? No, not at all. Is it the GPS's fault that you hit that 12-7 bridge? No. Is it the driver's fault that he parked so stupid that you hit him? No. Is it the car? Is it, and then you got to worry about the preventable and non-preventable. Non-preventable is someone coming across the highway and just completely hit you head on. There's nothing you could have done about it. Nothing. That is a non-preventable. A preventable is when someone is going to cut you off. Because if you've been out here a minute, when people are going to cut you off. The stupid things that people are going to try to do. And you can't sit there and have a road rage 4-wheeler mentality in these trucks. You just can't. Because if you do, you're going to have an accident. You're going to screw something up. You're going to possibly kill somebody. And 2 years of hauling around 72-seat passenger bus full of kids has taught me that. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't have that mentality. You have to get rid of your 4-wheeler mentality. And the problem is that a lot of these new carriers are training you and doing your CDL with an automatic transmission. Okay? Steve, what does the transmission have to do with safety? I'll tell you this. In order to be a good truck driver, you have to have no 4-wheeler mentality. You have to get rid of those days. You have to. When I was 20, I was tailgating, I was speeding, I was weaving, and it's a miracle that I still have my license the way I drove when I was 20. Okay? Eventually, as you get older, you realize you don't need to be in a hurry. You don't need to work as hard, And when I was training, I would tell these guys, you're working too hard, man. You don't need to go through gears 2 through 8 in the parking lot. Just keep it at 5th and just slow and steady wins the race to get out of the parking lot, And, it's, you have to get rid of the 4-wheeler mentality. So the automatic transmission, I feel, kind of hinders from that a little bit because you're not having to worry about shifting gears, So, there's a statistic that I heard that people with automatic transmissions tend to be the ones that turn over a lot on a turn. Why? Because when I approach a turn, I make sure that I'm in a certain gear. And in an automatic transmission, you're not thinking about the gear. You're just thinking about your speed. And if you don't pay attention to your speed, that's when you're going to flip over. That's when your cargo is going to shift. So it's easier to get into bad habits with an automatic transmission. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying that you can't be safe with an automatic. I'm not saying that you can't be a truck driver with an automatic. I'm just saying that in order to get rid of the bad 4-wheeler habits, automatics make it a little bit harder to get rid of that mentality. So therefore, you're speeding through the parking lot. Because if I'm trying to get up to 7th gear in a parking lot, man, I'm working my butt off, especially with a heavy load. So that means I'm going way too fast. So it's easier to make that correlation And a lot of people want to blame everything. Now, I'm not blaming the automatic transmission. It still has a mentality, but I'm saying it's easier to get in that mentality. But again, this debate is not about automatic transmissions. It's not about GPSs. It's not about people parking wrong in the parking lot. It's about you and who do you blame if something goes wrong. Because here's what happens. Let's say in your first year you have 3 or 4 incidences at truck stops where you've taken out somebody's truck, or you've backed into somebody, or maybe you hit something and just damaged the wheel, or a tire, One of two things, and I said this on Facebook, is going to happen. Either that company's going to fire you if you have too many incidents because you've cost them too much money, or option number 2, they're going to keep you, and they know that you can't. They know that you can't get a job anywhere else. And guess what? That gives them permission to treat you like crap. I've seen it with several companies. I've seen it over and over. And especially the companies that pay for your CDL training. They got you because they know if that they fire you and you owe them $5,000 for the CDL training, that they're not going to get that $5,000. However, they keep you on just to pay that back. They don't care about your home bills. They don't care about that truck payment. They want that money back for that CDL. So that's something to keep in mind. Just because a company doesn't fire you doesn't mean that you're going to be affected. So if you have too many incidences, guess what? They own you. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it to where, you talk to 2 people at the same company and one's like, oh man, they're doing this and this and this and they're doing this and they gave me the crappy run. I told them I didn't want to go to Newark, New Jersey, and they've sent me there 3 times, and you think they're mad about the truck that I took out there in in the truck stop? Yeah, pretty much. So you may not get your CDL taken away, but you will have an incident where, a situation where you become non-hireable. There was a guy that I trained, and he had that, I know a little bit more than anything else, than any of your other students, because I drove an RV. He was one of these guys that delivered RVs for that place in Indiana. I know a thing or two about traveling. Okay. I had him a week in my truck, and he had to get out. I told the company, said, you know what? He's not going to work. So just in case it's a personality conflict, maybe you could try him with another trainer. And I was hoping that other trainer would have enough sense to say, no, this guy doesn't need to be in a truck. Well, he didn't. The training program at the company was 8 weeks. This guy had to do 1 week with me and then 9 weeks with another guy, including an additional training after his first 2 incidences. And he hit a situation where he had to turn around, and I've tested this guy on it. But I wrote this big, long report about a guy should be in a truck. And finally, the last incident this guy had, and I would talk to the trainer, like, so how's so-and-so doing? He just kind of shook his head, And I knew what he was dealing with, so we kind of got a laugh out of it. I was like, man, I told the company that they probably don't want to put him in the truck. He goes, well, I'm trying. I'm like, okay, well, you got more patience than I do. So there was an incident. He was on a backwoods Arkansas road. Highway 7, I believe. They're in south or northwest Arkansas, okay? He misses his turn. Now he's trying to turn around. Now, any of you guys in the backwoods roads know that they've got these little pull-off spots for tractors, farm tractors. so they can just like let traffic go if they're holding them up. This guy thought he could turn around in there. And guess what? It was such an incline that he got stuck on the fuel tanks. Out in the middle of the road. He was blocking everything. And it was coming around the blind corner. He got really lucky because no one came around that corner at 55 miles an hour and rammed into him. I almost said rammed into him, whatever. Cost $30,000 worth of damage to the truck, including the tow bill. They had to call the state troopers out. It was a whole big mess simply because he made a bad decision because he doesn't have a truck mentality. He had a four-wheeler mentality. Four-wheeler, yeah, you can turn around anywhere you want. And they finally got rid of him. And they asked him, I said, are you going to try to get a job anywhere else? Because, this is all going to be on your DAC report. And he's like, no, I'm done with trucking. I'm like, finally. It took a year and $30,000, but he finally, and that was like his fourth incident. So, but he at one point during my training, when he was in my truck, he said, I'm more comfortable in this truck than I am in my own car. And I'm just like, time for you to get out of my truck. I was nice to the guy, but I just chalked it up to personality conflicts. But I wrote a 2-page report how this guy shouldn't be a truck driver, and that was to cover my own butt, because if he was to go off and kill somebody, I could say, look, yeah, I trained him and I told him not to put him in a truck. But a lot of times the higher ups in companies don't listen to the drivers, so they had to learn the hard way. I could have saved that company $30,000. So let's go to the comments here. You guys have been commenting pretty good. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. If you guys are just listening, the video's not over. That's when you take the crap for the extra miles to get to where you're going if you miss a turn. Yep. Yeah. The Corvette crew. That's good. And I understand there's mistakes to be made. But complacency is usually what causes them. Complacency and panic. You guys know the infamous video of the USA truck that just completely obliterated his truck trying to turn around in a tight space? The guy was coming out of the truck, he was pulling his hair, he was freaking out. That's the panic point. That's the point when you got to just sit in the truck and you're going to be in the way of traffic. And you got to have a calm, cool, collected mind to make the decisions that won't put you or anybody else in jeopardy. And had that guy been paying attention, he could have backed up 50 feet, and then there was plenty of turnaround spot, if you looked at that video correctly, where he could have gotten out of that jam. But instead, he totaled that truck. That truck was totaled by the time he got over it. Why? Because he was trying to not go under a 12.7 bridge. Kudos to him for that part. But at the same time, he hit that panic point, which is easy to do. That's why I don't suggest people become an owner-operators till they've been in this business a little bit, like 2 or 3 or 4 years as a company driver. Because you're still learning how to drive that truck. I'm not saying it can't be done, because I only drove a year and I became an owner-operator and I'm doing good. Okay, good. You're an exception to the rule. But you guys got to think about this. The majority of people coming into the industry leave after a year and a half. That's the average length of time that people quit trucking is within their first 2 years. Think about that. Why is that? Because it's hard on the family, it's hard on your body, and it's hard on you mentally. It's not easy out here. So that's why I suggest, have a couple of years on you before you become an owner-operator. Because, let's say you're a new person that just got your CDL and you go directly to, say, flatbed. Okay? You're learning how to secure the load. You're learning how, and you become a lease operator. So you're learning how to secure a load, drive the truck, and become a lease operator all at the same time. That's a little overwhelming. That is a little bit more mental work that needs to be done. You got to have steps. You got to have patience, because if you don't, you're going to crash and burn hard. Because learn how to drive the truck, then learn load securement, and then learn how to master the shippers and receivers and the loads and the places you're going to go to. And then when you become good at that, then start making a truck payment so you can have a little bit more freedom. That is how you should do it. You know me, I don't say the words you should, but that, to me, in my opinion, let me rephrase that, in my opinion, that's how it could be done. Let's do it that way. Unfortunately, I saw it at Schneider all the time. I want to be an owner-operator now. I want to be self-dispatched now. I want to have the freedom that you have now. Well, do you have good credit? No, but I'm going to get a truck now. Well, now you're making a $1,200 a week truck payment. Okay, so now the cards are already stacked against you. Have you ever been outside the 4-state area? No. Okay, well, you're going to learn a few things about trip planning, about, what it's like to drive on I-80 in Wyoming, stuff like that. And, you're going to go through stumbling blocks, and it's through those stumbling blocks that you learn and you become better. But if you stack so much on you, that's like going from Little League football to NFL, You're going to get a hell of an awakening. You're going to get a hell of a baptism by fire, And if you survive it, awesome. You're going to become better for it. But the true secrets to success is to take the little steps that it takes, master those little steps, and then work your way up, and work your way up, and work your way up. Adam Gallagher says, I know one guy in his 18th year does very well with 2 paid off houses, and that guy was only company for 3.5-4 months before going lease and owner op. Yeah, Adam, I'm saying it can't be done. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that's an exception to the rule. Think about lease purchase programs. What's the failure rate on those? And why is there a high failure rate? There's not a driver shortage problem. There is a driver retention problem. And 90% of that, I'm not going to give a number, a large percentage of that is the attitude of the driver. If you blame everybody else for your mistakes, you are not going to succeed. I don't care if you're a truck driver or not. Anything in life, if you have a victim mentality, you will not succeed. Plain and simple. And you know why I know that? Because I used to be like that. I used to have the victim mentality. I used to blame everything else for my problems. Then one day, I don't know, I realized, you know what? It's your fault. And people don't want accountability. People don't want that honest answer to themselves. 52 years old. Learn something new every day. Never think you know it all. Take help when needed. Give help when needed. Drivers I hate are the ones who know it all. Snowlord, would you pass up help? No, every day I need help myself, I'm in the position I'm in here because Jeff wanted to help me and I accepted his help. And for the longest time, Jeff would, email me or send me a comment on YouTube and hey, I can help you out. I was at Landstar. I can help you out with this, and I was like, I don't want to help. Then finally I broke down and let him help me, and guess where I'm at today? I'm working for him, And that wasn't his motivation. He was helping me, 4 years ago when he saw me struggling. He just wanted to see me succeed. It wasn't because he was trying to get me to Schneider, because that wasn't his goal when he called me. His goal was to, Steve's struggling a little bit. I can kind of help him, because I see some of the mistakes he's making. So yeah, I accept help all the time. I am not afraid to ask the driver, hey, you know what? I can't get in your door next to your truck. Can you help me out? And if they have an attitude, it's like, well, you have a choice, and I'll go to the next driver. Because there are some places where, like, there was a place in New Jersey that I had to ask like 4 drivers before one actually would help. Finally at one point I was like, look, I'm just going to sit here in everybody's way because I ain't moving this truck unless I get some help. And then, then finally I got some help, So I I am not a know-it-all. I know sometimes it may seem like that on my videos, but I absolutely am far from knowing everything at all. I wouldn't even be doing this video if I didn't give a crap about other drivers. And if there's something I need help with, hell, I was on Facebook needing help with somebody, and a lot of people stepped in and helped me, and guess what? It solved my problem. Right, Big Rig Bill. And again, I'm not saying that you can't, like, not do 2 or 3 years to become an owner-operator. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that the odds are stacked against you. Because this is not the easiest job. There's a reason why there's a high failure rate. There's a reason why there's a high retention, low retention. Because people have trouble doing the job in and of itself. And then to add, bad company policies and all the situations that we deal with on the road, add that into the mix, and the cards are really stacked against you. So, in order to be a successful person, you have to learn what makes it successful. And playing the blame game is not going to get you there. Right. And I've made this analogy before. Remember, what was your first job when you were a teenager? Was it flipping burgers? Imagine if the person that you were flipping burgers for came up and said, oh, here you go. You're now the owner of the store. Good luck to you. I mean, most businesses, in order to even get a business loan, you have to have some kind of, business degree or whatever, some kind of training. And trucking is the only one that's like, hey, last month you were driving your car, and 2 months after CDL school, you own a business. A 60, and that's the other thing, man. You're driving $160,000 vehicle. Why would you not be careful going through parking lots? Why would you not be careful about hitting someone else? Why would you not have? Why would you not get rid of the 4-wheeler mentality when driving a $160,000 vehicle? Think about these people in these RVs. Some of those RVs are like $400,000, $500,000, right? And they're just treating them like they're their pickup truck. You're just like, oh my gosh, So, Adam Gallagher says Prime is one of the risky places to go, given the option of lease versus company after training. Yeah, Adam Gallagher, I agree with that. I don't understand why somebody would do that. And again, you have, if like, okay, let's look at Roscoe. He's got a really good business mindset. So the fact that he'd only been driving 3 years as a truck in general, and he became an owner operator in that time frame, he's doing well. And that comes to the business mentality. If you got a good business mentality, then you just got to work on driving the truck. But if you're struggling to learn how to drive the truck and you don't have good business sense, then man, that leasing, you're going to work too hard. You're going to be out months at a time trying to make that high-end truck payment. And and these lease options kind of make it low risk. Like, okay, it'll cost you a little bit, but you can walk away from this, whereas like if you own a truck from a bank, then yeah, you're having to like either try to sell the truck or you're going to get it repoed and get it hit on your credit. But anyways, these are the thoughts that are in my head, and I thought I would talk about them because I mentioned that on Facebook, and it's something that I come across daily in any situation, not just truck driving, but the victim mentality. It's all your fault. If you're on Facebook, you look at Facebook, and you're like, look at the people that are griping the most. Look at the people that make your news feed pretty lame. What are they doing? They're complaining about their lives and how it's everybody else's fault. Their life sucks. You know, and to me, that's the plague of the world right now is that victim mentality, and it's bred into us. It's kind of like, okay, let's talk about this. Okay, so there's a new movie out called Winchester, right? And everybody I know that's went and saw it said it's horrible. And if you guys don't know, the backstory is supposedly the relatives of the Winchester family, the gun maker Winchester, is haunted. That mansion is haunted from all the people that have ever been killed by a Winchester gun. And someone said something very profound that went and saw the movie. It's like, wouldn't you blame the people that shot the person, not the gun maker? You know, if a car hits you and it's a Ford, if there was nothing, like if it wasn't a mechanical failure of the car, do you still blame the car maker? But that's the society we live in. I know a kid that was injured during a BMX event here years ago, and the company sued the bike shop that put it on. They sued the helmet maker, they sued the bike maker, they sued everybody, and and they didn't win a thing because it was no fault other than the guy riding the bike. He was wearing the helmet correctly. His bike was in mechanical top condition. The bike store had this liability thing that you had to sign to enter the contest, you know, and it pretty much put an end to the contest because no one wanted to take that risk anymore. So that's the mentality. It's like the lady that. Well, no, that's not a good analogy. I'll stop from that story, but that's the situation that we're in. That's the situation that we live in, and that's the situation that creates the lack of success. Is if watch Shark Tank, watch Shark Tank. Who are the people that are doing well on that show? Who are the people that get the deals? It's the people that have their act together, have the knowledge, and don't have that victim mentality. Well, it's the market's fault. It's this fault. It's that fault. It's the broker's fault. It's the company's fault. No, it's all on you. And accountability does not exist anymore. So I just thought I would talk about that this morning because that's just what I do. Yeah, Werner had to pay out $90 million because of I never even read into that report. I know Gary Compton did a video about it. I haven't watched it yet. I apologize, Gary, for watching, but yeah, it's a case of and see, trucking companies know that they get blamed for everything, and they have money set aside. All trucking companies have money set aside for a lawsuit, so they could settle quickly and hopefully not get drawn out. So a situation like what happened to Werner happens. So, anyways, my battery's about to die, guys. Thanks for watching. Your comments have been appreciated. I'm not preaching here. I'm just telling you, you know what? Look at the mistakes that you made and see where they came from. Once you figure it out, then you're good to go. See ya.